Dir ist dein iPhone runter?
You dropped your iPhone and broke the display? This video will show you how you can replace it yourself. The repair is a bit more difficult because the display is heavily glued in place and you should plan about 30 to 60 minutes. We recommend the following tools for the repair. You can find the tools together with the spare part and the handy magnetic pad in our iDoc online shop. All links can be found in the video description. Have fun with the repair. At the beginning of the repair, you should switch off your iPhone to avoid short circuits in the following steps. First, remove the pentalobe screws to the left and right of the lightning connector. Note that after a repair, the unit is no longer protected against water ingress as it was at the time of purchase. The display is heavily glued at the border. This adhesive ensures that the device is protected against dust and splash water according to the IP67 classification. The device opens to the side of the standby button. The flex cables of the display are located on this side. The flex cables are fragile and should not be overstretched. In addition, the display is hooked in at the top. This means that the display must first be pulled a little to the bottom to unhook it before it can be folded to the side. To remove the display adhesive, it is best to use a hot air gun or an ordinary hairdryer. The adhesive is located on the edge of the display. By warming up, you can loosen the display more easily. Now take the suction cup and place it on the display above the home button. Now pull the suction cup and simultaneously press a plectrum into the gap between display and frame. As soon as you have placed the plectrum between the glass and the frame, you can now move the plectrum once around the frame. This will gradually loosen the display adhesive. Make sure that you do not insert the plectrum too far into the device when loosening the display. Be especially careful up here, otherwise you could damage the display connection cables. If the display of your iPhone is heavily splintered, it is recommended to work with adhesive tape. Take a strip of tape and stick it directly onto the splintered display. This will make the suction cup hold better again. Slide the plectrum around the entire edge of the device and gradually loosen the adhesive. You can also heat it up again to make the glue easier to remove. Lever on the upper side to unhook the display. If the glue is loosened all around and the display is loosened at the top, you can now open the display. Be careful not to stretch the flex cables too far. It is best to lean the display against a stable object so that the cables are never stretched further than 180 degrees. Now disconnect the battery contact first to avoid any damage caused by short circuits. Loosen the 4 Y-type screws of different lengths. Apple introduced these special screws with the iPhone 7. Be sure to use a high-quality Y000 screwdriver, otherwise you run the risk of damaging the screws. Always make sure you don't mix up the screws. We recommend our iDoc magnetic pad for putting down the screws. Remove the cover plate and then loosen the battery contact with a spudger. Always use a plastic tool. Now you can loosen the connectors of the display. Be careful not to bend the connectors and damage other parts of the logic board. The first 2 connectors connect the screen itself, the backlight and the home button. The upper contact is for the front camera and earpiece. Loosen the 3 screws of the cover plate. Take the plate to the side and unplug the connector again with the spudger. When all connectors are disconnected, you can remove the entire display unit. Before you take over all parts like front camera and home button, you should test the new display first. This way you can be sure that the touchscreen works properly and that there are no display errors. Plug in the 2 connectors and then connect the battery. Switch on the device. Depending on the iOS version, this may take a little longer, as the iPhone recognizes that not all components are connected. Then test the touchscreen by touching an app longer with your finger and then moving it zigzag across the entire screen. The touch function is fine if the app always follows your finger and doesn't jump back. Also take a close look at the screen to see if there are any pixel errors. If everything's fine, turn the power off. Then first disconnect the battery and then the two connectors for the display. Before you can install the new display, you have to take over some parts of the old display. These include the earpiece, the front camera, the home button and the rear panel. The earpiece is held under a cover plate. Loosen the 5 screws of different lengths and make sure you remember the position of the individual screws for reassembly. A magnetic mat is very practical for sorting the screws. Then remove the cover plate. Flip the front camera to the side and remove the earpiece. The cable assembly of the front camera is glued down in several places. On the upper side are the proximity sensor and the brightness sensor. The golden contacts for the earpiece are also glued on. You can use hot air again to loosen the glue more easily. Loosen all parts bit by bit. Start with the sensors and lever them out of their guide. Then loosen the flex cable that is glued to the display. Gently slide a pair of tweezers or a steel spatula under the entire cable and contacts. When everything is loose, you can remove the cable assembly. In the next step, remove the home button. Loosen the 4 Y-type screws and remove the cover. Be especially careful as a damaged home button can only be repaired by Apple itself. Disconnect the connector of the home button. Since the plug connection is loose, you can also use the tweezers to assist and press the plug socket down. Then unplug the connector with the spudger. The flex cable of the home button is glued to the display. Slide a tool under the cable and loosen it carefully bit by bit. Here you can also work with hot air again to loosen the glue more easily. To remove the home button, you have to push it out of the display. If you lift the display, the home button can fall out on its own. In the last step, you have to remove the back plate and transfer it to the new display. The connection cable for the display is attached to the rear panel with a black sticker. Carefully loosen the adhesive with tweezers and remove the sticker. The back plate is screwed at the side with several Y-type screws and 1 Phillips screw. The screws can be very tight. Again, it is important to use the Y-type screwdriver that fits exactly. The Wiha Y000 is designed for the exact screw profile of these screws. You can find the link to the using tool in the video description below. Then you can lift the back plate slowly. Lead the connection cable through the opening and remove the panel. Before you install all parts into the new display, you should compare the old display with the new one. You may need to take over parts such as the front camera and sensor guides. With our iDoc displays, it's all there and you can start assembling right away. Remove all protective foils and seals before reinstalling the rear panel. Now reattach the back panel. Lead the cable of the display through the opening and position the back plate correctly. You can use the screw opening as a guide. Because the cable pushes the whole panel a little bit upwards, it is helpful to push the back plate down with one hand. Then screw the first screw to lock the panel in place. Then you can attach the sideways Y-type screws. Do not tighten them directly so that you can correct the plate again if a screw does not fit exactly into the screw opening. To make sure that the back plate lies flat, press it slightly downwards when screwing it in. When all screws are in place, tighten them again. When everything is screwed together, you can use the black sticker again to attach the display cable to the back plate. Now attach the home button again. The home button must be guided through the opening from the front of the display. Turn the home button to the correct position and place the flex cable in its place. Make sure that the connector socket is over the cable. Small openings in the cable fit exactly over holding pins on the display. Then reconnect the home button. Secure the home button with the cover plate. Hold the plate firmly and then reattach all screws. Do not over-tighten the screws, otherwise they may scratch the paint on the front of the display and then shine through. Now attach the front camera flex cable again. Start with the 4 gold contacts for the earpiece. To the left and right of it there are small openings that have to be led to the little tips on the display. This will help you to position the flex cable correctly. Then place the microphone in its opening. Fold the proximity sensor over and place it in the transparent holder. When the cable is properly seated, insert the earpiece next. The earpiece has 4 gold spring contacts and the opening for the sound. Inserting and screwing the earpiece in is a little trickier. Flip the camera to the side and insert the earpiece. Then insert the front camera into its opening and keep holding the whole thing in place. Put on the cover plate and hold it tight. Then insert a screw and fix the plate with it. Then insert the other screws as well. Take care not to tighten the screws too much and do not swap the screws. We recommend using a new frame sticker to restore the iPhone's protection against dust and spray water. Here in the video you see the iPhone 8. The procedure, however, for the iPhone 7 is the same. First, remove all old glue residue, so the new glue will stick properly. Note, however, that the iPhone will no longer be 100% water protected. Make sure the frame sticker is aligned correctly before sticking it on. Look at the corners to see which edge faces up or down. Position the film flush on the device and lightly press it on. Press down the glue all around. Now you can also remove the second protective film layer. Check again if the frame sticker is positioned correctly and press down again if necessary. Now take the tab and slowly pull of the last part of the protective film. Now you can reinstall the display in the device. First, connect the front camera. Place the display at the top, hold the contact in place and carefully press it on. Then you can put the display back into the sideways position. However, it is best to lean it against a solid object again so that the flex cables are not stretched too far. Then reattach the cover to secure the contact. Reconnect the other 2 connectors of the display. Start with the connector of the home button and then the connector of the LCD display. Try to position the cables correctly and do not slide over the connector. The connectors should snap into place with a light click. Now you can reconnect the battery contact again and secure all contacts with the cover plate. The cover plate is secured with 4 Y-type screws. Now you can finally attach the display. The display must first be hooked in at the top and then pressed down evenly on all sides. Fold the display over and carefully insert it into the guide. Then press the entire display down so that it snaps into the holding rails. In the last step, secure the display with the 2 pentalobe screws. Finally, you can test the device again. Test the touch screen, earpiece, front camera and home button to make sure everything works. Your iPhone is fixed now and we hope it was fun for you. If you have any questions, just write a comment or check out the photo guide on our website. There you can also find spare parts and high-quality tools in our online shop. To support us, subscribe to our channel and give the video a thumbs up. See you next
Bis zum
time.
nächsten Mal.